What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and today we have some really interesting and exciting news about the future of the DCU. James Gunn and DC have revealed their future movies with what they are calling Chapter 1, and they've revealed part of Chapter 1, and a second part of it is still yet to come. But what they have revealed for the first part of Chapter 1 is very exciting and has a lot of fans talking. James Gunn and DC has revealed that we are going to be seeing characters like Superman, Supergirl, Batman and Robin, and the Green Lantern, so some members of the Justice League here. So this has a lot of people wondering, when exactly are we going to be getting an official Justice League movie? How is everything going to build up to this movie? Which heroes are going to be involved with this movie? And who is the villain going to be? Well, recently, James Gunn might have told us exactly who the villain is going to be and kind of what the story arc for the new Justice League film might be as well. Recently, Paul Scheer posted to his Instagram story. He posted a picture of DC's The New Frontier by Darwin Cook with the caption on it, "After James Gunn's big DC announcement, something tells me maybe it's a good time to revisit this." And what's interesting is that James Gunn reposted this to his own story. So many fans have begun to wonder, is this a hint at the Justice League story and the villain that is to come? And a lot of fans right now think yes, and have already begun putting together a lot of different pieces just based off of the announcements that DC has given us so far, connecting projects like Creature Commandos, Swamp Thing, and of course, Lanterns. And Lanterns did give us kind of a pretty big hint that the Center could be the villain. So let's go back real quick and listen to what James Gunn had to say.
Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU.
So in this, he explains that Hal Jordan and John Stewart and some other Lanterns are going to be the main characters. They are essentially kind of watching over Earth and they discover a terrifying mystery. And here's the important part. He says that it ties into their larger story of the DC universe. So based off of James Gunn's tease, people are thinking that this terrifying mystery could be the Center. The Center is an ancient mystery, with it predating human existence. The Center was born on a primordial Earth, millions of years before dinosaurs. But as it lived and as it existed on Earth, it watched all of this new life appear and grow. And over millions and millions of years, eventually it got to the age of the dinosaurs. Then the asteroid came and wiped out all of prehistoric life. However, there was life that did survive, and it quickly relocated them to the Pacific Ocean, and it formed itself as an island to support all of the creatures that survived. And yes, you heard me right. For those of you who may not know or may not be familiar with the story, the Center, this being, did form itself as an island. Now, eons went by and eventually the Center witnessed a new life form emerge, humankind. And while it was fine at first, the Center watching humanity, eventually the Center found humanity to be violent. Then in the 20th century, it saw them use the hydrogen bomb. It saw the mass destruction that it did, and eventually decided that humankind posed a threat to the Center's world. And the Center decided that it was time for it to leave the planet Earth, but before it did, it was going to wipe out all of humanity. That's right, kill all of its humans. So it starts to send flying dinosaurs everywhere throughout the Earth so it can get fuel, so they could bring it back and it could prepare to leave. Now, eventually it discovered jet fuel at Cape Canaveral, where the spaceships launch, and it decided that it was time to let the world know of its existence. Yes, the humans were aware of a dinosaur island, but they didn't know what it actually was, an entity that is the Center. And what they didn't know is that it could have an influence on people's mind. It could subject them to madness and even violence. So it goes to Cape Canaveral, and this is where all of the heroes have to come together to fight it. But not without a big fight. It actually defeats Superman, and many of the heroes believe Superman to be dead. However, they eventually defeat it with the help of Hal Jordan, aka the Green Lantern, who just became the Green Lantern in the storyline. He defeats it by throwing it into space where it explodes, and they eventually find out that Superman is alive. Then at the end of this comic run, the Justice League of America is formed. So how will this tie into the new Justice League movie? Well, I'll tell you. But before we dive into that, many of you have commented on my new studio. I just wanted to say thank you and a big shout out to my partners over at Elgato. They have changed my convenience of work drastically. They've made it a lot easier to get work done, and they've made my studio look a million times better. From all of the studio lighting that does not make my room hot, that you can control with your phone or a Stream Deck, to the microphone that I literally use in each video that I record. If you are a creator, a podcaster, a gamer, or if you're thinking about getting into any of those, Elgato has the best equipment in the business. And if you're interested, you could check out my link in the description and in the comments down below for my Elgato gear. Now, it seems like this is kind of going to be like what we saw with the Avengers. DC is going to introduce individual characters, and then there's going to be a big common threat to the Earth that unites them. And it certainly seems like the center could definitely be that big threat, that big bad that does that. So they come together in the Justice League film, and from that film on, they are the Justice League. However, it does seem like this story is going to have to be changed in a few different ways. For starters, the story in the comics takes place in the 1940s and the 1950s. Now, we're not really sure when the DC universe's stories are going to take place in time. They could very well be set in the 40s and the 50s, but if they're going to do a modern take on them, then this time frame is obviously going to have to be changed, which I personally hope that they do. I hope it takes place during our time. Another big thing that is going to have to change is Hal Jordan's Green Lantern origin story in the New Frontier. In the New Frontier storyline, Hal Jordan starts off not as the Green Lantern, but then he becomes the Green Lantern towards the end of the story as Abin Sur dies and he declares him to be the new Green Lantern. Since the Lanterns are coming out before the Justice League movie, obviously that is going to be different. Hal Jordan will already be a Green Lantern, along with John Stewart and some others. However, one thing that I hope they do not change about this story arc is that at this time, vigilante heroes are kind of outlawed. In fact, during the story, only Superman and Wonder Woman are sanctioned to be heroes by the government and are allowed to be heroes. So some heroes in this story go into retirement, like the Flash, and some just keep doing what they do, just avoiding the cops, like Batman. I hope that they adapt this. I think this would be a pretty cool storyline, and eventually, of course, the ones that retired come out of retirement to help fight the center at the end. And like I mentioned, the result at the end of that is the formation of the Justice League. Now, the terrifying mystery that the Lanterns could be finding in the Lanterns show is the center having that mental influence on people, causing them to go mad, causing them to kill themselves, and causing them to commit violence. And something that further connects the New Frontier Justice League storyline with the Green Lantern is that originally Abin Sur came to Earth on a mission of great importance, which was highly suggested to be about the investigation of the center. And like James Gunn mentioned, the Lanterns is kind of going to be an investigative show. Perhaps that's why they are at Earth. They are there to investigate the center and the effects that it is having on the population of Earth. Now, of course, at first, they most likely won't know what it is because it will probably be disguised much like in the comics. But if they follow true to the comics somewhat, eventually this is what is going to unite the Justice League, and eventually this is probably going to be that big bad, which is quite a different story than we got with the previous Justice League from the DCEU, which is probably what James Gunn is going to go for. Something different, something fresh, and this certainly is different and fresh. But do you like this idea if this is indeed going to happen? Let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let us know. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest DCU news. Of course, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.